Trey Lance spoke today at length with Rich Eisen. It was a good interview, although I couldn't find the whole thing. I found clips of it. Where was the whole? How long was the whole thing?
It was like 7 minutes or something like that.
Okay, so I saw the whole thing. All right, fair enough. What were your major takeaways from this?
Well, he actually had a second interview that I found with Brady Quinn today as well.
Okay.
Not a lot came from that. But okay, so I'll actually work my way backwards. I'm going to talk about the Quinn interview because there wasn't a lot that came from there. Basically, what he said in the Brady Quinn interview is that he learned a ton from other players that aren't necessarily quarterbacks on the team, which throughout the season, you're kind of stuck with your position group. But because he was injured, he was spending a lot of time with guys like CMC and Bosa. And he said the one thing that he really dialed in during this season, spending time with guys like CMC and Bosa, is nutrition and a sleep regimen. He said that he took that from those guys and he thinks it's helped him out tenfold. He thinks he'll be a lot better because of it. And he talked about the same thing he talked about in the Rich Eisen interview, where he felt it was a really rough season on him mentally. There was a lot to go through mentally. Early on, he felt like he was not contributing. Obviously, once Brock Purdy came in, he felt like there were ways to contribute. But the biggest thing that I took away was he just seemed very comfortable in front of the camera versus last year. Even when his body language showed he was comfortable, you could hear his voice was a little bit shaky, almost like he wasn't so sure of himself and where he was at. He was joking. He was having a good time. And I said this about a week ago on Twitter Spaces, but I said I love Trey Lance, and I think he's a competitor internally. But I want to see that extrovert come out because I feel like he is really that guy.
Because Brock let it out. Brock let it out.
Yes,
Brock let it out.
He did.
And it worked for him.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah.
And I felt like we saw that in this interview today.
Yeah.
They asked him about the Lombardi Trophy, and he said, we're going to get one of those. And then he asked, should you get that job should you basically be handed the job? And he's like, no. He's like, Brock played really good football. Really good football. It would be unfair for me to just take that job and be given the job. I'm ready to compete for the job. That's all I ask. Just give me a chance to compete, which tells me that he's in a mindset like, hey, Brock's my guy. We're friends, but we're trying to take each other's job here. Like, let's not mix words. He knows what it is. I know what it is. We're both fighting for this job. May the best man win. And I just loved his confidence overall that came from that interview. It was oozing out of him, I felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I like him very much. He's a good guy. He's had so much go against him early in his career, and he hasn't really gotten a chance. So it was nice to see him talk. It was nice to see him be confident. The one thing I would say is that he is still younger than Brock. He's very young, and it feels like he's a people pleaser at heart. So am I. So one people pleaser to another. Trey, sometimes it comes across like you're trying to get the older vets on the team to like you. And I get it. You praise them so much. You're supposed to. They either will or they won't. There's nothing you can say. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can say. They either will or they won't. Don't worry about it. Like, be more like Brock. Like, be more commanding. Stop. Like, don't kiss Kittle's butt or Juszczyk's butt. You're the quarterback of this team. Purdy's rehabbing. It is your team. Take ownership of it. And I'm not saying butt heads with some of these guys, but you don't have to bend over backwards to get them to like you. They'll like you if you ball out. So I don't know what makes me say that, but my heart goes out to Trey because I feel like we have similar temperaments, and I hear him talk, and I'm like, yeah, man, you're trying to get these people because some of these people in this locker room seem to have not given him a chance for no good reason, and he's just like, if you just got to know me, I'm a good athlete, I'm a good guy. How could you not like me? That's how I feel about myself. I get it, but man, this is a real world, and you're very young, and these are older people than you that just, man, life isn't fair sometimes, man. Brock came in and told people to shut the fuck up. That's what he said, and I thought it was cool. It's your time, Trey. If George Kittle or anyone in the huddle in OTAs is not giving you 100% respect, tell him to shut the fuck up with a straight face. I want you to do that, Trey. I'm on your side here. I want you to do that. Because to me, I don't know if he's gotten there yet. And I think he needs to. It's important. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of those things that, like, we'll just have to hear teammates say it about him, because Brock in interviews is also very, I'm just here to get the ball and distribute it. And you know how he is, right?
Oh, shucks.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I did. Actually, the one thing that I left out was what he said about Fred Warner. And he called him like the most competitive person he knows.
I like that part. He said he wasn't coming to OTAs because he didn't want that smoke.
Yeah, he didn't want the smoke.
I love that.
I loved that.
Thank you. Do that. Be that guy.
And he said it twice. He leaned into the mic and was like, "You hear that? You won't be at OTAs because you don't want the smoke." I love that. I love it.
I like it.
Absolutely love it.
Because again, it's like, as leadership, it's like, hey, you're a leader on the team. Come to OTAs, man. I'm challenging you. You called me out I'm challenging you now. Come to OTAs. Make us, because you'll make me better if you're there. I like Trey Lance so much, and it breaks my heart the way people have really wanted to pull the plug on his entire career before it got started. It's not fair. It's like, he's not Tim Tebow. Come on, let's relax. And Tim Tebow got more of a chance than this dude.
That's true, yeah.
So it's nice to see him doing the right things. At the same time, I want to see him be cutthroat, man. And I like when he said that about Fred Warner, to your point. Fred, let's go, baby. Let's go.
Show up. Let's see if you got it. Yeah, I want to see it. And the one thing too, again, like, I don't get how the fan base hates on him, because when you hear he was like, I was a little frustrated because, when Jimmy was a quarterback, he's a veteran. I'm like, what am I really going to do to help him out? But when Brock took over, that was my chance to really feel like I was contributing to wins one way or another by watching film, helping him break down protections and blitz packages and that type of stuff. That's a good freaking teammate right there. At the very least, how do you hate that guy?
Compare Jimmy and Trey. Both got injured. Both got upstaged by Brock Purdy. Same exact position. Jimmy just goes, hey, he's gone. No, was he talking about, oh, what can I do, Kyle? What can I do? What did he say at the end? He was smiling on the sideline, and then he said, oh, I wish I had a helmet. Trey, on the other hand, is still trying to impress the organization. Jimmy wants out. Trey wants to be here. So he gets hurt. He gets upstaged. He goes to Kyle, what can I do? He's 22. How can I help? I'm injured. I don't want to just rehab and be on my own. What can I do to help this cause? And that's why when asked about Trey, I feel like Kyle always is very positive. How can you not like a kid like that? Again, Trey's a people pleaser. He's trying to please you, Kyle. What can I do to help? You gotta like that. I mean, that's what Kyle wants, right? He wants non-diva quarterbacks who carry themselves like tight ends, right? Well, that's Trey. That's Brock. You got two of them. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a great situation to be in.
Jimmy carried himself like he was Tom Brady Jr., which always killed me.
Yeah, he definitely did. And this isn't even just an isolated incident. I mean, in 2020, where the hell was he when he was injured? He wasn't around the team at all. Like, he wasn't down on the field trying to help out the other quarterbacks. He was up watching the game in street clothes, not even wearing Niner gear. Like, yeah, it's very, very different.
But if we could end this section on one message, Trey, everyone on the Niners, I know you're watching. Trey, as quality control coach, number one on the 49ers, I give you full license to tell George Kittle to shut the fuck up. Tell him I told you to say it.
Let me tell you this, actually. Let me tell you this. So they were doing superlatives, like one-word superlatives on the Brady Quinn interview. And they asked him about teammates, and he had to give one word. First person they asked him about was Kittle. And he just laughed. Like, immediately laughed, and he goes, that's an interesting one to start with. That was his words. And then he goes, I would say, like, I think he called him eccentric. Or no, wild. Wild is what he said. That was his way to describe him. But
what did Brock Purdy say about Kittle? With Kittle sitting next to him on that, what was it, after Thursday night? He said he won't shut up.
Yeah.
He won't shut up. And in a good way. In a good way. No, he won't.
Yeah.
Kittle, I love you. But wow, that guy loves being a media darling.
Yeah. And then he was asked about Ayuk, and he goes, that guy doesn't talk.
Yeah, he's like the exact opposite of George Kittle. And like Ayuk stuck his foot in his mouth this week, and no one would have noticed if I hadn't called him out. But I still much prefer I much prefer Brandon Ayuk to George Kittle. Just in terms of the way they portray themselves. Brandon Ayuk is just, he's not media trained. He's not trying to be a celebrity. He's a football player. And sometimes he says something that he shouldn't. George is like trying to be on Barstool so hard. I'm like, man, I can't take it. Like, it's nauseating. I'm sorry. Brandon, I like Brandon. And so when he got himself in trouble and I got him in trouble by snitching, I felt bad. And I'm like, okay, let me try to damage control for Brandon. Because Brandon's a good guy. If George did that, I'm like, nah, dude. You wanted the smoke. You invited the smoke. You love the smoke.
And that's the thing about Kittle, and he's been one of my favorite players on the team for a while, but
did he not change from 2017 to now?
Way too hard, man.
Super hard. It's like you're not
the 24-year-old kid anymore.
And you're not 30. That funny. You're not that funny. You're not. As someone who's freaking hilarious, you're not that funny.
not to blow a horn, but beep beep, if you know what I mean.